All right, welcome to the show, Cody. This is the first episode of the Punch Out podcast, baby. Happy to have you on board here.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
You're the first guest, so you're the first recurring guest too, because I'm gonna make you come back on this thing, and hopefully this first episode goes well to where we continue this. So you're the first official guest, so you should feel honored. Minnesota Twins prospect. 13th round draft pick. The list goes on and on. You got all kinds of trophies back behind you on the video. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we could talk to you about. But even though we're in the same state, I figured we could have done this in person. But the whole virus situation, you got any updates on when you're going back or what the Twins want from you?
Man, I haven't heard a word, to be honest. Yeah, it's just kind of just hang out and get your work in at home. Try to do as much as you can. And hopefully they'll get back to us pretty soon. I mean, there's been a few things going on with the MLB, talking about them splitting it up, going to Arizona, going to Florida, and going to their spring facilities. But for the minor leaguers, haven't really heard much for a plan or when we're going to get out there.
Yeah. So what was your like first impression of the spring training? Because this was your first year down there at the complex, and like I'm pretty sure Minnesota's connected with the Red Sox, right? So have you ever been down there before? What was that kind of like?
No, it was awesome. I had gone there right when I got drafted. I went there for about a week, and then after that, I headed out to E-Town, Elizabethton Twins, and then went there for the season. Went down for a couple camps throughout the off season in Fort Myers. But yeah, it's a great facility. Probably one of the tops in the league for sure. They keep us there. We got dorms there that we stay in, and we work out, get all of our work in at one little facility, and yeah, it's a pretty nice place.
That's pretty sweet. I was always curious, I never made it down because I was a big Red Sox fan growing up, of course. So Red Sox were always in Fort Myers, and they got the monster out in left field. Do you guys have like something specific at your, spring training place that's like Target Field out in Minnesota or anything like that?
Nothing specific, but the high A fields right there, the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. Just changed that name.
Wait, what was that?
the Mighty Muscles. That's the new name. So it used to be the Miracle, but yeah, the high A parks right there. Pretty nice place overall. That's where the spring training team plays their games, where the MLB team plays. Yeah.
Man, that's pretty sweet though. What those camps that you went to, like, was that pitcher only, or what was that like?
They split them up between the pitchers and the position players. It was like one was a strength camp, and then I went to two strength camps for like a week at a time. They were just trying to like check up on us throughout the off season, just see if we're getting our work in, like how much progress we've made and stuff like that. But then I went down in January. They had a velo camp, a command camp, and a pitch design camp. I couldn't be in any of the three just because I had like a little setback with my arm, but we're doing like rehab and stuff. I was going to be in the velo camp one, but never ended up going there. Probably needed the velo camp, but it's all good.
The velo camp, everybody needs that. I feel like these days, yeah. If you don't have 95, then you're in the camp.
Right. There's some guys that were up to like 95 last year that were still in the velo camp, and I'm like, well, how do you get out of it? Like, you got to throw 100 to get out of it?
Yeah, right.
not very many people can do that. So,
did they have anything like that? You can't give away their secrets, of course, how to build velo, but did they have anything that you were kind of looking forward to? I'm guessing they had driveline stuff, weighted balls, that sort of thing. Did you have any secrets you can share?
Yeah, we're not like all in on driveline stuff. We're big on plyos, just throwing plyos to warm up, and not necessarily trying to like throw plyos as hard as you can, like throw a 6 ounce and like an underweight ball, like a 4 ounce as hard as you can. We're not like big on that. We're big on throwing just plyos to warm up, as opposed to like really using them to gain velo.
Yeah. So what does a typical like plyo warm up look like? Or, do you kind of scale it down from, the big 4-pound ball all the way down to a 5-ounce baseball, or kind of what's a typical, plyo warm up that somebody could implement in their routine?
Yeah. We start with the heaviest one. We start with a 2-pound, like that green tap ball. We use that, do reverse throws with that up against our plyo wall. And yeah, we scale it down as we go. So we go from the 32 ounce to the 21 to the 14 and then down to the 7 for warm-ups. We throw them all at about 70% effort, nothing like too much, not like pulling down. Like we have like a little box kind of thing that we throw it into. So it's not like down like where like a catcher would be. It's kind of like up towards our face where we would throw.
Almost like if you're playing catch, right?
Up against. So it's basically like you're playing catch, just like trying to get like maybe a little bit of air under it, but basically trying to throw it on a line for the most part. But we do like a lot of scap activation kind of stuff with like the 21-ounce ball and the 14-ounce.
Nice. What you got a little space to demo one of the scap activations?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit of space here. Stand up.
You got so many trophies there that you can't.
Yeah, these are all from when I was like 10 years old, so there's nothing recent up here.
Yeah, just wait till you got the trophy back there. You'll be.
Actually, I could probably sit down for this. But like we have like a 21-ounce ball, so we start with it right here and just bring our scat back as far as you can, and then lift up and throw right into the wall. Like nothing like we're not going through a full throwing motion. You're trying to keep like a really short arm path as you do this. That's another thing we do. We try to like kind of correct our arm path with the plyos as opposed to like being really long with it, because that could lead to injuries and a heartbeat just really fast. But so we try to keep a short arm action throughout the whole thing. Yeah, and the scap just pull back and then up and throw.
That's pretty good. I would even try that one today. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It definitely works to warm up for sure. That's one of the only ways you can really warm up the scap, in my opinion, just like using like a slightly heavy ball and just trying to activate it that way.
I like that. And the biggest thing that I heard one time with, cleaning up arm action and using weighted balls to shorten up arm path and stuff is like, if you were going to throw a 10-pound dumbbell, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have a super long arc to try to. You're going to take that thing right here and throw it. Like you're not going to let it.
Yeah, you're going to be as short as you possibly can. Just kind of like almost like just pushing it as opposed to actually throwing it. Not trying to rip your elbow apart on that. So.
No, I got a nice cool scar. I tried that, so I'm trying to learn how to not do that again. So.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to not have one of those. So.
No, I don't recommend it. So.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. I think pretty much any kid could, use that at any age. You really get the control of your scap and then let it go from there. That's a pretty good one.
For sure.
What I saw you at the protein bottle there, weight gain. I know the whole college career. I mean, me and you were roommates last year on the road, so I got to see firsthand, going from 195 pounds up to 208, now up to 225 and throwing fuel. So like what was that a big emphasis with the twins too? Was kind of like, hey, we see you've got all this velocity. I mean, you were up to 93 at 195, 200 pounds. Were they thinking along the same lines of like, because you talk to me about this all the time, was, you can get to 225, that 93 turns into 95, 90, so were they kind of on board with that when they drafted you?
Yeah, they were definitely on board with me gaining weight. I mean, they didn't get to see me my freshman year of college, and I was about $165, so that's probably good. But I was around 200 pounds when I got drafted, and then ended up I'm up to 225 now. You just got to make sure you do it the right way. You don't just want to, sit around and just eat all day and just think that like, oh, it worked. I'm 225 now. I can throw hard. But you got to go about it the right way. Just kind of eating the right things. And I drink a lot of protein shakes after I work out. So that's pretty big as well.
Yeah, recovery. I think that's the biggest thing that because especially now that your professional season is so much longer than a typical college season, that recovery is number one. You got to, especially transitioning from a starter in college on a 7-day rotation to a professional 5, I feel like the recovery has to be, top priority. You throw your game, I'm guessing you guys have, recovery routines and, certain pieces that you got to hit right after the game. So, what's your experience kind of like with transitioning from the 7-day to, coming down to a 5 this year? What do you think? What have you seen the best that's worked for you?
Yeah, we were actually when I was in Elizabethton last year, we were on a 6-man rotation, so it settled us in a little bit to the pro ball kind of atmosphere and stuff like that. Just because like they didn't want to throw us in a 5-man, where I throw on a Sunday and then I gotta come in and throw on a Friday again. So they wanted to kind of do it like one day a week, just to make sure we transition ourselves well enough. They didn't like push us too hard. We were about on an 80 pitch count throughout that season, just because they knew we had a long year at school. I mean, most of us did. There were a few guys that were there the year before too, and they were able to stretch out a little bit just because they didn't have a long season, just because the season was only about 2 months. But yeah, that's about it.
Nice. So if you had to pick a favorite recovery exercise right off the bat from either one that you've had, you've been using for a while, or something new that you learned with the Twins, what would your favorite recovery thing be to do right after a game?
Usually right after an outing, after I throw about 5 or 6 innings, I just let my arm rest for the most part. I don't try to do anything else, just because my arm's already, it's feeling like it's pretty tired. You don't want to do too much more with it, obviously. And like, there's like a couple exercises we do, like with the 32-ounce ball. We do those throws where you're catching right here and bring it all the way back down and reverse throw it back up. So we do that. Yep. And that's the only one that they actually want us to do after a game, right after we're done, just because we did enough. We threw 80 to 90 pitches, threw an extra 25 in the bullpen. You don't want to do too much else besides that. And then the next day you kind of get into it, even though your arm's still pretty sore.
Yep, I was going to say you did your job for that day and move on to the next. And that, I'm sure, is the second day. So you got day 0, you throw your bullpen. You throw your game. Then day 1, is that your lifting day and heavy recovery day? Is that kind of how that goes?
Yeah, that's the big lift day. I think. Yeah, we usually do a lower body workout after that. We try to stay away from the upper body the day after you throw. We're kind of like some of our workouts are like full body, so I don't think a lot of organizations are really like that. We like to do a full body workout for almost every workout, besides like the one right after we throw in a game. Like we'll usually do like a deadlift or a squat or something like that instead for the big lift.
Yep. I think that's a pretty good method, especially with your body just trying to recover a little bit. You can kind of take your day, to, let things get back to normal. And then once you're back to normal, your arm should be feeling pretty good to where you're stretching it out. I know you're a big long toss guy. Did the Twins kind of just let you do your thing, or is there something that, can you speak to a little bit of the long toss and how that's helped you?
Yeah, it's helped me a lot. I really got into long toss after my sophomore season at Maine. I took the whole summer and just long tossed like 2 or 3 days a week at least, just kind of trying to air it out as much as I could. And I saw a huge velocity increase. I was like 86, 87 my sophomore year, maybe up to 88, 89. And then I was averaging 90, 92 the next season. And I credit a lot of that to the long toss more than like me trying to put more weight on. So for sure, I was trying to stretch it out like 300, 350 feet, just trying to let it go.
That's awesome. And I know, was that the summer that you were in Worcester?
Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks. And then I said, I think it's time for me to go home and try to get ready for the school season, as opposed to, still pitching in games. I had already thrown 70 to 80 innings. Don't need much more than that. So I kind of just came home, took a couple weeks off from throwing, and then started the long toss program.
I think that's a big lesson for kids that are kind of already gotten their work in at school, and they know that, because for you, the goal was obviously professional baseball and velocity was the thing that you needed to develop. I think, you definitely can say you did the right thing with, you needed this velocity. And so you established, what you needed. You put a program together with a long toss and you stuck to it, and look where you are now. So I feel like a lot of kids can take lessons from that. And, if you really know what you need and it's not playing in games and, you know what you need to develop, go ahead and do it. I think there's a lot of different ways now that people can get work in, with different facilities and coaches that are, kind of around the country that, you don't have to necessarily play on a summer team the whole summer to get better. So it's cool to see that you had that you're in that situation and it turned into a draft pick. That's
Right.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I didn't take that. I didn't. It's not a secret throwing program anyway. I took it straight off of the JagerSports.com website. Just they have it all scripted out for you, and I just stayed to that course for, I think it was 8 weeks. It was like an 8-week program. Just stuck to that, and I mean the results were there for sure.
Yeah, because I know you came back in the fall lightening it up, so everybody was kind of like, "Yo, who, what is this? What happened?"
Yeah, no.
And it was, that was the year that all of a sudden the scouts keep rolling in, and what was your draft day experience like? I know John Wilson with the Twins was up and around a whole lot, but take me through the draft day or kind of the process leading up. I think that's some of the coolest stories that I've heard so far.
Yeah, the draft day, it was pretty crazy. I didn't hear from the Twins until the morning that they picked me. They called me about 9:00 in the morning. I was up at my high school about to throw a bullpen. Actually, I was getting ready. It was my bullpen day, so I said, "Well, I'm not going to take it off now just because it's the draft day. I'm going to throw my bullpen anyway and get my work in just in case something happens." But yeah, he called me as I was about to step on the mound to throw my bullpen, and he said, "Yeah, we're looking at you. You're pretty high up on the target list for us. Just keep your phone on you, and we're going to give you a call." And then, so I threw my bullpen, got through it as fast as I could, just because I was so anxious. And I drove home, and then flipped the computer on, and then started looking at all the draft, everyone that was getting picked up. Got a couple of calls from a couple other teams, and then eventually, well, I was actually just sitting in my house by myself. Nobody was there, so I'm just sitting there like freaking out. Like I don't know when I'm gonna get picked. Like I figured it was gonna happen like quick. And he called me about 10 minutes before, and he's like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna try to take you here in the 13th or the 14th." And then I already had a promise from another team that they were gonna take me in the 16th. So I'm like, okay, well, either way, it's gonna happen. So I was just happy that something was gonna go on. And then eventually, about 5 minutes later, he called me and he said, "Yeah, you're gonna be a Minnesota Twin." So I'm just sitting in my house by myself. I called my dad and I'm like, "Dad, I'm about to get picked right now." And he works at the high school, so he drove home, ripped in the driveway at about 50 miles an hour, and he's just like freaking out. And he runs inside and I'm like, "Yeah, I just got picked," and we were just so excited.
That's got to be the best moment, and you'll never forget that. That's so cool, and to be on the mat, I would have thrown that bullpen that you're talking about. I would have thrown that as fast as possible. I've thrown like 10 pitches, and all right, I'm going home. Where's the computer?
I got through it pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh my God. That would have been the fastest bullpen of my life, especially with my phone would have been turned up to 100. I would have been like constantly like putting it up.
The amount of text messages I got that day was insane. Like I just had to put my phone down for a little while just because it was so crazy. Just all the support that you get from everyone is just insane. I got texts from everyone that I've basically ever known. It was that wild.
That's incredible. Did your name pop up on the tracker before John called you, or
popped up after, like 30 seconds after he called me?
That's awesome. Were you able to get to hear the audio?
Oh no, I was actually trying to get the audio on when it happened.
Oh,
I was just getting everything set up when it happened. I saw it pop up on the draft tracker thing though.
That's pretty cool. Because I was gonna say, if you got that audio, I mean that you're gonna listen to that for the rest of your life. That's you should call your scout there and say, "Hey, do you have this audio?"
I should, honestly. I never even thought of that. I was just so happy that it was all over with.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're in the Twins now. You got it official. Right. Everything's good. Right. You're there. You don't have to prove it to anybody. So, once you kind of got picked up, did they paid for all the things to bring you down to Fort Myers, and then physicals and all that, and then you're officially a Minnesota Twin. Have you ever been to Target Field?
I haven't been to Target Field. They sent a few guys, like the higher up draft guys, like the first. I think it was like the first 5 rounds. All those guys went to Target Field to sign their deals, and the rest of us went to Fort Myers just because there's more room down there for all of us to be able to get everything done. So we worked out down there for a week, and then we went out to where we got assigned.
Cool. That's pretty sweet, man. I'm so like I was jacked up that day. I was one of the million people that were trying to get a hold of you, and
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. And I was the whole time I was sitting like watching the tracker and stuff, and the America East hadn't had a pick yet for, you know, the top 10 rounds. There was nobody. You know, Jeremy Pena was the third round the year before, and so I was like, all right, you know, Maine's going to have the highest pick. And so I was shuffling through my phone trying to figure out who is it going to be.
Yeah.
Have you matched up with Ben Anderson yet since you guys both got picked? I know he was around before or something like that, but
yeah, no, I haven't matched up with him yet. I don't know where the Rangers are for their rookie ball team, but we had 8 teams in our 10 teams in our league in Elizabethton. But yeah, I'm not sure where they're located. I haven't met up with him. Haven't seen him. I think he went the 12th round, right, to the Rangers.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Have you seen anybody yet that you've known so far throughout? I know you played summer ball and all that sort of thing, but
I faced Trey Fletcher from Deering. I think that's where he was at high school.
Yeah,
Faced him a couple times. I tried to throw him a first pitch slider, just because like he hadn't really done that well with sliders. I throw him a first pitch slider and he just left center right off the wall. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, he got me on that one. So yeah, I mean, he's a pretty good hitter. That guy, he's going to be really good.
That's awesome. And I also saw videos of him throwing like 90 plus off the mound too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an arm from the outfield for sure.
That's pretty neat because everybody was, I mean, second rounder to the Cardinals. That was kind of a big deal. So I figured that he would at least go to try to be a hitter first, and then, you know, you saw that arm from the outfield.
Yeah.
So
I think he's going to be pretty well. What's that?
You strike him out at least later on?
I think I got him once, but yeah, I just remember the first at bat. He had about 105-mile-an-hour line drive off the left center wall. So
so your go-to pitch now, the changeup, is that what you got him with?
I think I got him with a fastball. I got him with a fastball up.
Hey, you were the first one really to adopt that, you know, out of our pitching staff at Maine. You were the first one to be able to really hit those elevated fastballs. Speak to a little bit of how that kind of played out for you, and taking that into pro ball. I know that's kind of the big thing now, is pitching up in the zone. So how did you kind of get about doing that?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't like really trying to execute a fastball up that much at Maine. It just happened to be my fastball carries up through the zone pretty well. So I'd try to throw in the middle and it'd go up a little bit, and I'd get swings and misses on that. And then when I got picked up and I saw the numbers on the Rapsodo and stuff like that, my fastball has a lot of good vertical break on it, which is like, it's a weird thing to explain, honestly, because you can't really like see a vertical break on a fastball. So it's just kind of weird. But so my fastball just plays really well up in the zone. So we would throw fastball up first pitch sometimes. Like, hey, we're going to challenge this guy, throw him up. Maybe he'll pop one up, or maybe he'll just swing and miss. So I went with that a lot. And then I was able to go to the changeup later. But yeah, the fastball up is where that's where it's at now. You're not really throwing fastballs down at the knees anymore. You're throwing them up for the most part, unless you're like a guy that has a good sinker. You're going to keep the ball down most of the time. But for guys that throw fastballs up, you're throwing fastballs up and changeups down and breaking balls down. That's basically how it goes.
There's your tunnel right there. So with I understand a little bit of the Rapsodo stuff, and I know the Twins are really big on pitch design and all the analytics and stuff. So with vertical break, are you looking for, because I've seen anywhere from 17 to 20 inches is elite, and if you can get over 20, you're just a god. Yeah. Where do you fall on that?
I'm usually in the 17 to 20 range.
Elite.
But I've seen, I mean, like 17 to 20, I think it's like pretty average for our organization, to be honest. We have a lot of guys that like to ride the ball up high in the zone, and we don't really have a ton of sinker guys. Like sinker guys are usually like vertical break of like 10 or 11, something like that. And then other guys, you don't really want to be in like the 13, 14 range. If you're in that range, it's kind of like a ball you're kind of in between, and it's like it's a little bit easier to hit. But I mean, it's not everything for sure. But if you're in like the 17 to 20 range, you're doing pretty well. And I've seen fastballs carry at about 24 inches before, which is just crazy. Like, I don't even know how you hit that.
That's like a rise ball. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it basically is.
So I bet if you had high spin rate, something over 2,400 spin and a more than 20 vertical break, you're literally throwing a rise ball. It probably looks
Yeah,
like.
that's Justin Verlander to a T, and Garrett Cole, guys like that. They run it up. They run it up at 96, 98, sometimes 100. So I don't know how you get that. My spin rate's pretty average, but I have a pretty good vertical break on my fastball. It's usually, I think the at average is around 18, 19.
That's pretty sweet. The spin rate stuff, is that something that I know hitters are more aware of it now. In your organization, do the pitchers take a lot of stock in their spin rates, or are they more looking at the horizontal vertical movements?
For me, I'm more of a movement kind of guy, because my fastball, my average spin rate's about 2,100, maybe 2,200. Because it's not really something that you can work on that much unless you have a fastball that cuts a lot. If you have like pretty true spin efficiency with your fastball, there's nothing much that you can really do to improve spin rate. Unless you want to decide to throw some pine tar on
I
there.
was going to say, what about on the inside thumb of your glove?
Yeah, that's the only thing that you could do. I'm not going to say that I do that, but
No. I wouldn't. I had a brown glove in college intentionally so that the inside thumb.
right.
I can give away my stuff. You can't give away yours. I mean, you got a contract and all that stuff. I'm still a free agent here. But anyways, back to the spin rate thing. Do you guys and scouting reports? I know, at every level of the minor leagues and college, you have scouting reports. Was there a particular thing that you would try to exploit, knowing that you're such a good changeup, or was there anything that you really keyed in on in reports?
The biggest thing I keyed in on was first pitch swing percentage. So if a guy's swinging at 40% of first pitches, I'm probably going to throw him a changeup or something off speed just to get him off my fastball. I mean, unless he doesn't hit fastballs well, then I'm just going to throw a fastball and hope he puts it in play. Just hits it weak somewhere. But that's the biggest thing that I looked at. And then we had some like heat maps and stuff that we could look at. So if a guy hits 350 on pitches right down the middle, I mean, obviously you want to stay out of the middle of the plate.
Yeah.
But if a guy, that's probably a bad example. So if guys hit let's say a guy hits 350 to 400 on fastballs in, like up and in, something like that. So you probably want to stay low and away for the most part, and maybe go there late when you have them back down to like a 0-2-1-2 count.
Yep. I think that's pretty sweet. I mean, the amount of information that you're going to have, I'm sure, is going to continue to grow and grow the higher and higher you climb too. So, and I think you've always done a really good job of pitching to your strengths rather than the hitter's weaknesses. Like, right. Especially, with you having an elite changeup now, the people could have in the reports like, this left-handed hitter smashes changeups, like, stay away, don't throw him a changeup. And I still, at least from what I've seen from you, you still throw changeups to those guys. You put your best stuff up against theirs and see what happens. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if you execute a pitch and you put it exactly where you want to with good movement, they're not going to hit it most of the time. You have your times where the ball gets hit and you throw the most perfect pitch ever. I mean, you jam a guy with a fastball and he hits a broken bat single over second base. Like, that stuff happens.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say was you put your pitch in the spot that you wanted anyways. You got a pretty good chance of them, 3 out of 10 times they're going to get a hit, but 7 out of 10, the pitcher's already got their advantage. So you can still throw your changeup whenever you want to, all that stuff. So you got a ball there. I want to see this grip that you're.
Yeah, I do. I have a ball.
The brand new grip here.
We got a new grip here. It's a pretty weird grip, to be honest. So I have it right here, and I put my fingers, I'm like right here, and I have these two fingers on the side right here, just kind of like as a guide. And then I have my thumb directly under, and I use my middle finger more than I do my ring finger. A lot of people like to use their ring finger on changeups, but I have this seam right here, and I like to put as much pressure as I possibly can right here.
Middle finger?
And then on the middle finger, and I'm just pressuring the inside of the seam right here as hard as I can, and then I just throw it. I don't worry about really pronation that much. I just worry about throwing it, and if you have that, it's going to come off right here and just have that spin right. It's going to be about a spin like this.
That's
about like a 2 o'clock axis. So this is like a 3 o'clock right here. Yep. Probably around right here, about a 2 o'clock. So it has both the vertical and horizontal movement that I want.
That's pretty sweet. That was my question was going to be, is it more a straight down or do you get a little bit of that fade too?
Yeah. It's more, honestly, I think it's kind of a mix of both.
Yep.
I would rather have it be more vertical just because I can throw it to right-handers too. So it's a pitch that kind of goes straight down as opposed to kind of moving horizontally so much, but it's probably about 10 inches of horizontal.
Man, that'll be enough to miss a barrel, that's for sure. And you get some swing and misses on that. So you got the thumb right underneath, middle finger pressure. Do you try to line it up like you have your middle finger inside of the seam too?
Yeah, I put it right on the inside. And at first, I was kind of like, I had this finger over here, so I was kind of splitting my fingers, and I didn't really like it that much. So I moved this ring finger over right onto the middle of the ball.
Yep.
Just so I have more fingers on this side, so it's going to slide off my hand a little bit better, as opposed to being here and have it kind of maybe come out of my hand this way and cut a little bit. So I put it right in the middle and have it kind of roll off.
And I think the thumb positioning is key too, where you got these two fingers on the side doing whatever you want them to, but if the thumb kind of can get out of the way here, it'll keep it in your hand just long enough where you get that perfect side spin. Because you've always heard, the perfect backspin fastball, of course, is what you want. And your changeup, you kind of just take it and if you had perfect side spin, that would be the most perfect changeup. So if you can try to replicate that, and this is more of like stuff for the advanced guys, but just finding a grip and getting the release out of your hand the way that you want it to. I feel like once you get the grip, no matter how weird it is, like the first thing you said was, "Oh, this is a pretty weird grip," but if it works, it works. So
I learned that from my pitching coach in Elizabethton. He taught me that grip before. When I got there, I was throwing just a traditional circle change right here. I had the circle down here and had my thumb under. And then I kind of noticed it started to come out of my hand like this. So I was kind of cutting it a little bit. I was still getting swings and misses at times, but I'd run it right into a lefty's barrel once in a while. And that's just, you don't want to change up running into a left-hander. You want it fading.
Right. Is were you able to see that on like Edgertronic or anything like that? Or was it kind of just something that, you noticed from Rapsodo or what kind of tipped you off on that?
We used the Rapsodo a lot. I don't ever think we got into the Edgertronic with it in the season just because we didn't really have access to it there. But we just kind of looked at the spin axis of it. It's usually around like 150 to 2 o'clock. I'm hoping I can get it to about like a 230 axis. So it has that horizontal and the vertical.
Man, that's awesome. So one more time, it's just thumb underneath. You kind of let, you stack up your hand as much on the side here as you can. And you kind of let these two outside fingers be the guide.
Yeah, I kind of rest them.
Have pressure on these two on the bottom, or what's kind of securing it for you?
It's kind of like I feel when I put the pressure on the middle finger right there, I feel a lot of pressure on my thumb too, because you want to be able to, you don't want it to really pop out of your hand, so you got to have that pressure down there on your thumb as well.
I like it. That's a pretty sweet grip, man. I think it could help a lot of people, and just something to try too, because changeup is, in my opinion, the best pitch in baseball. And I ran a poll on Punch Out Pitching's Instagram the other day, and
I voted on that.
You voted on that? It was changeup.
Yeah, I voted changeup.
What you want to like get into your reasoning, but I know you have a pretty elite changeup, but like what was your thought process if you could pick between the fastest fastball or the nastiest changeup? What was, you picked changeup. Tell me why.
Well, the first part is I don't throw very hard, so I've had experience with it. I've had experience with having a pretty good changeup. With fastballs, you don't have to throw it the hardest to get the most swings and misses and have the most success out of it. If your fastball has really good metrics, has good spin rate, has good carry through the zone, could have good sink, could have anything. But just having a really, I'm not big on the 100-mile-an-hour fastball thing. I'd love to throw it, but I'm not quite there yet. But if I could have both, I'd take it. But for the changeup, it's just so devastating, because if you can throw a changeup with the same arm speed as your fastball, and you can have good movement out of it, and it just looks like a fastball the whole way, and then it just falls off the table, and it's just unhittable.
I vote on the same way. I'm leaning towards changeup, and for the guys that have the fastest fastball and the best changeup, Nolan Ryan. I mean, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Pretty good company to talk about throwing 105 and with the devastating changeup. So, I think there's more to be said for, there's ways that we're starting to see people developing velocity. Like you talked about, the Twins had a whole specific camp developed for velocity. And so, there's ways to develop both. And I think pitchers are going to be staying ahead of hitters as far as development wise, and with all sorts of cameras and Rapsodos to design pitches and develop basically whatever you want. So do you have another pitch that you're kind of looking to develop, or what's kind of in the pipeline for you coming up this season?
For me, it's throwing a harder slider. My sliders was usually around like 74 to 75. It was like minus 14 or 15 off of my fastball. And it was just kind of loopy and just something that like I was kind of getting around too much. So yeah, I'll give you a little demonstration. I was like here and I was releasing it I was getting really around it. So recently in my last couple of bullpens, I've been trying to just kind of rip off the seam and just kind of let it come off my hand, as opposed to trying to manipulate it so much with my wrist and my hand. And I've already seen a velocity increase of 5 to 6 miles an hour.
That's pretty sweet. And I've even seen people, in order to try to get a harder slider, they'll almost like take a knuckle grip. Like, normally you'd have both your fingers set up right with it. I've even seen some guys just bring their finger off it a little bit so that they can have a little bit more to rip on with that middle finger. So that was something that I kind of experimented with. Was not a full like spike, but like kind of in between, just so I get my thumb out of the way and rip on it. Because, are you trying to look for more of that gyro spin where you get this, more of like a, you let the gravity do the work, or are you trying to go for like a horizontal slider? What's kind of what are you trying to go for with it? It being faster, of course, but what else?
Yeah, I'm looking for more of the horizontal because I have that curveball to go with it that has it's a little slower, but it has the depth. Yeah, and it's good enough. It's a straight up and down pitch that I can parallel my fastball up. Yeah, so when my slider just comes out of my hand right here, it kind of has the gyro spin, but it's still like it's pretty horizontal. It moves as just what I've seen from like the eye test and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't really trust your eyes that much, but yeah. So yeah, if I already have the curveball, I don't really have to have as much of it like a depthy slider as opposed to having something horizontal.
Exactly, and I think too, it's a developing a tunnel. You said you have your fastball to tunnel with your curveball, so it's kind of identifying what you need in your pitches, and it's not just, oh, I need a slider. Let me develop, or I just need a knuckleball. I'm going to develop that. There's actually a reason for it, even though having 27 different pitches to throw would be pretty sweet, but it's kind of, self-awareness of like, okay, this is what I like to do. And you kind of get to see in pro ball, I'm sure, you get reports on yourself, what you're doing well, and kind of what your scouting report is, more or less. Like, if you had to give yourself a scouting report right now, what would you say? You don't have to rip yourself apart too much. The reason I say this is I have a scouting report from college last year of what Mississippi State had on us.
Yep.
I was going to compare what you say to what this report said.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, trust me, you'll have a good laugh over it. Just you wait. So what's your report?
I remember seeing that, but I don't remember what it said. I would say, I mean, I'm a guy that you want to swing early. That you want to get. I'm going to throw you a first pitch strike most of the time, so you better try to hit the first pitch fastball. I'm going to throw a ton of fastballs. I'm going to throw about 70-80% heaters. So just try to sit on a heater and hit it. And if he gives you an off-speed pitch, then so be it.
All right, so here it is. Here it is. I'll try to cut it so that we can see it on the final version of this. But it says fastball 89-92. It doesn't list that you have a curveball, so that's already a miss.
Yeah.
77 to 79 slider, 81 to 82 changeup. Got 1.25 to 1.45 to the plate. So that's about right. And it has your splits versus lefties versus righties. says lefties are hitting 571 against you.
Oh, my. Well, they probably were because that was against Florida State. There you go. Kind of ripped me apart.
And it says you haven't given up a hit to right-handers yet. So
yeah, it's kind of the opposite now. I'm better against lefties than I am against righties now.
It's that changeup.
Five numbers. It's the changeup, yeah. I threw changeups about, I think it was like 20 to 25% of the time to lefties, and I was throwing like 5-6% of the time to righties. So that's something that I'm going to work on too, is throwing that changeup to righties too, because you can throw it to either side.
Oh, I think that's just unfair. If you can throw a right-on-right changeup to somebody, especially in like
hopefully if I can get it.
That's true. So the command part, you can't really get away with not having command. But the comments on this, you'll be able to have a good laugh at this. High 3/4 arm action, 3-pitch mix to left-handed hitters, more changeups than sliders. Right. Fastball slider to righties, strike thrower with a high front glove.
I nailed that one, obviously.
And they have emphasis on the front glove. It's fastball is firm and works away to both hitters, lefties and righties. Will elevate fastballs with 2 strikes. Be ready to hit the fastball when he's behind. More off speed when he's ahead. That was the college. That's college Cody Laweryson right there for you.
That's not bad. It's not much different now, honestly. Just that I throw a little bit better to lefties than giving up a 571 average.
Yeah, well, and I think you've probably given up a hit to a righty,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've given up a few hits now.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So we talk about, giving up different splits between righties and lefties. I'm going to do this thing on every podcast. If you had to face Mike Trout right now, what's your pitch plan to him, with what you got right here?
Well, I'm definitely throwing my first pitch fastball, because I know that he doesn't like to swing first pitch. So I'll try to get ahead 0-1. I mean, hopefully he doesn't swing. I'm going to try to just get a strike in there.
Yep.
After that, I mean, he doesn't really have any holes, but if he were to have one, it'd probably be up in the zone. But I'd probably try to he's just a tough guy to face.
See, this is
I think I'd try to get inside on him on the second pitch, and then probably try to go up and in on a fastball second pitch. Just try to go right at him, try to get ahead. And then after that, I'd probably try to stay away for a couple pitches and hope I get him to swing and miss if I can execute a good slider, or maybe throw a changeup like on the plate but down. So, I mean, besides that,
I think you could strike him out. When you're in big league camp next year, and the Angels, I know the Angels are in Arizona, damn. So, I was going to set up this. I was going to, we could look back on this in a year or two when you face the Angels and Mike Trout's in big league camp, but they're in Arizona. So unless you get traded,
maybe I'll see him at one point.
That'd be pretty sweet. And we'll have to get him on the podcast, to see if this pitch plan actually turns out, but
hopefully it works out. Hopefully it doesn't take me 450 feet to dead center.
Yeah. That's what the number one thing that I've seen on the internet so far during this quarantine is 450 dead center. Yeah. So let's just hope this next season coming up, we're at whatever level you're at, that some Dominican prospect doesn't take you 450 dead center.
Yeah. It hasn't happened to me yet. I'm lucky. I only gave up a couple homers. They weren't cheap. They weren't cheapies either. They were hit pretty well.
If you're going to give it up, you might as well let them be bombs. That's what I always say. Yep. Give the chicks dig the long ball, so you got to give it up every once in a while.
That's true. That's true.
You got any Spanish knowledge yet, so you can chirp back at some of the people on your team? No?
I got nothing. I got nothing at all.
We even had Spanish-speaking kids on our team in college, and even myself, I have very limited to no knowledge of Spanish. So,
I should probably learn it to kind of know what they're saying, maybe be able to communicate a little bit better. We got a couple of catchers that speak Spanish, and they speak very minimal English. So it's a little bit harder to communicate.
1 means fastball, 2 means curveball. As long as they know that, have there been instances where it's been tough, or you've been like, man, I really want to throw this and this, or?
Yeah. Well, I've had to send the pitching coach out a couple times because he speaks both. So to kind of I need to tell him what I want to do, and he needs to relay it to the catcher. But I usually just tried to wait until in between innings to kind of communicate that.
Wow. See, that's something I feel like, the average baseball fan or whoever is not going to know that, if you're in the minors or even in the big leagues, I'm sure there's people that don't speak, you'd have to communicate with, guys from different languages and all that sort of stuff. Right. And I've got one final question here before I let you go. For any of the pitchers, back at home, stuck inside with the quarantine, I know, you've got a bunch of experience with cold weather. If you had to leave them with, with one lesson or with one thing that they can do during the quarantine, what would it be?
Whew. Man, that's a tough one, man. If they have access to anywhere inside, just try to find something to set up and get some throwing in, something like that. But at this point, nobody's ever really experienced this before. First time, I don't think anyone's ever been just quarantined in their house, like the whole country being like this. It's just, it's tough. But just try to do anything you can. Just just like lifting weights. Like if you don't have any weights, just try to find something that's like a little bit heavy, maybe to just get a workout in somehow. Try to do a body weight kind of circuit or something like that. I've done a few things. I found some stuff online to get workouts in. But besides that, it's kind of just, you got to wait it out and wait till everyone gets freed.
And especially with, I'm sure the Twins have sent a few workouts to follow, and with throwing programs and all that sort of stuff, you kind of have to know what you need. And, and there was a reason for asking you this specific question too, because I will take you back to a time in Starkville, Mississippi, to the night that we traveled for 14 hours a day. I'll link the video along with this. So the whole reason for asking you the quarantine question was, you can always set up a mattress to throw into. And I've got an awesome video. You even see your high front glove, all that stuff. It's all in there. So it's a quick.
Man, I forgot about that one too. Yeah, that's a memory for sure.
Yeah. So literally the day before we play a top 10 team in the country, we've been traveling for a day and a half. It seems like we're chucking baseballs into our mattress in the courtyard in Starkville. So I'll try to throw that clip in there too. But thank you for being the first guest here. We'll have to have you on again during the season. And, maybe if there isn't a season, or we'll do a live version, or I'd love to even do some live at bats or something. I know there's some guys still local and in Maine. There's, maybe Trey Fletcher wants to step in for another at bat. We can get Jeremy Pena, try to.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
That'd be pretty awesome. So thank you for being a part of it, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.